Hello, all. Thank you for stopping by. I know it's been oops, going the wrong way here. Short notice, but you know, my husband's in there. He's laughing already. Look, what a world! What a world! Look, look, y'all. Just settle in, okay? Just settle in. Let me turn my screen down. Maybe just maybe not that. Okay. Anyway, let me just leave it. Here's the question. Hi, Carolyn. What if Snap doesn't come back? All right, let me just let me just start right there. First of all, a little historical background about the SNAP and EBT and whatever all else you call it was a double-edged sword. Now, the reason I say that is because there are and there will always be people who are less fortunate than you. There are homeless people that are less fortunate than the last homeless person, okay? Or the next homeless person. There's always somebody that has more than you or less than you, is what I'm trying to say. So, okay, you guys, hi. Make sure you sign in so that I can acknowledge you. But listen, I am not a person who does not understand compassion and need. I have always been a person who felt to help other people. The problem that we have right now in society that has been going on for decades now is that people have abused the taxpayers. They have raped the taxpayers of their hard-earned money. Now, so let me just say, hi Sharon, hi Diane. Let me just say, hi Chloe. The government has no money except what they take from the citizens or what they print. You do understand that, right? The government has no money. That's why they tax the citizens in order to keep the country and other countries going, right? So these benefits that go out to um, people were intended to be a step up, not a lifestyle, right? Um, Way back in the day, there used to be a program that came on when I was younger, a lot younger, and it was called, I think it was called Julia. Some of you guys might know it, you might remember it, but it was called Julia, and it was about a young, um, uh, a black woman that was a nurse, and she had a little boy. I think his name was Corey. Anyway, she was trying to do her best to take care of Corey. Now, I may be getting this mixed up with another channel. I don't know. But with another program. I don't think I am, but I could be. Here's the thing. Back in the day, oh, y'all do remember. Okay. We're dating ourselves. Anyway, so back in the day, if you were, I don't know, this could be the wrong show, but back in the day, long time ago, if you went on public assistance, it was a very strict um, program that you were on. I mean, they wanted to own you. Okay, you could not have anything new. They sent a social worker. Now, I never experienced this. Okay, I'm just telling you what I know. They would send a social worker out to your home every now and again. I think they were like, surprise visits or whatever. And if you had anything new in your house, they wrote it down, right? And did a deduction. If you were able to buy something, or if you had any kind of assistance coming from anywhere else, it could cause you to lose your benefits. So the reason that I'm saying that this whole EBT, SNAP thing, whatever, welfare was a double-edged sword is because it enslaved you to a system. And the reason that I say it was enslavement, and it still is because you were oftentimes, or at least I know you are now, awarded so much more money than you ever would have gotten as a wage paid employee unless you were in management or owned some type of a very profitable business, right? In which case you would not qualify for it anyway, right? So the program had a twofold purpose. And anytime you're dealing with the government, anytime, let me tell you, that you're dealing with the government, it's always a double-edged sword. They have nothing to give you, right? So whatever they get from the taxpayers, then they create all these other programs and stuff, and then they want to issue it out. So let me just say that the reason it's a double-edged sword is because it takes the taxpayer's dollar and it distributes that money out to different states, right? Now, I don't know what the scale is that determines what state gets how much money, but I do know that a lot of that is funded by the federal government. Well, the government is shut down right now, and people are losing their minds because they think they're not going to be able to eat come the 1st of November. Now, I've heard arguments on both sides, and I do understand. I absolutely understand if people absolutely need it. But there's a couple of things going on here. First of all, if the program was put in place with a double-edged sword, with a put in one hand, take out of the other kind of a thing, that's a problem. To help somebody is one thing. To enslave them while you're helping them is nefarious. That's evil. Okay. So what has happened is that you have people, I kid you not, okay, it came out of their own mouths. I don't know if you guys been watching some of these videos that have been popping up, going viral, but I'm telling you, there seems to be a pattern of, I haven't seen too many men because there ain't a whole lot of men that qualify for welfare. Okay. I haven't seen too many men, but let me tell you, there's been a common theme with women that have multiple children, 9 kids, 6 kids, 7 kids, that don't work and don't want to. Now, I get the don't want to part. If you're getting $4,300 with an H dollars a month for food, and that's just food, and you're living in a very nice home on Section 8 where you're only paying $89 a month for your rent because the taxpayer is paying the rest, right? You got your nails done, you got your false eyelashes on, you got your hair, you got your weave or whatever all else. You just a hood rat, okay? You a hood rat. Let me tell you, that ain't right on any planet at any time. All right, you are able to work. You're able to work. So what is happening right now is that people who have immersed themselves in what I call generational poverty have this mindset of entitlement because this is all they know, right? They grew up with a parent or two that learned how to game the system. Now, did it necessarily start out like that? Not necessarily, right? Not necessarily. But once you found out, or they found out, that they could get thousands upon thousands of dollars for free, right? Drive BMWs, eat whatever they want, fill up 2 and 3 shopping carts and the person standing behind you in line has a basket that they cannot fill up, and they're not even really making enough money to fill their cabinets. And you're shopping on their dime that they don't have because the government took it and gave it to you. Now, I want to ask you, in what world is that okay? I'm just saying. Diane Carroll. Yes. Anyway, so we got a problem. Houston, we have a problem. The problem is we have hood rats who think they're entitled to your tax dollars. Now, let me tell you, even if you retired, you paid into that system to help other people, but you did not pay into that system to support them for the rest of their natural life when they're able to work as well. So, here we are with the double-edged sword. I had somebody, y'all might have seen it in the comments. Bless her heart. I had a lady that got mad at me and left the channel. Okay. She was talking about enjoy your white privilege from your husband. I'm thinking to myself, I'm over 65. I only been married for 17 years. And I was privileged long before I knew him. Okay, so just saying, because I did not marry beneath me. You get what I mean? So there you go. Anyway, what are we going to do if EBT or SNAP or whatever it is does not come back? What are you going to do? Right? So look, I ain't talking to the responsible people that are on my channel. I'm talking to the hood rats and the orangutans that think they're entitled to your stuff. That's who I'm talking to. People are just losing it. Broadcasting that they're going to go into Walmart, fill up shopping carts, and take whatever they want if the government does not give them the money that they are demanding. It'll work in sanctuary cities. It'll work in blue states. You try that in the red state, you're going to jail, okay? You're going to jail. Here's the thing. Now, see, you have all these people, all these years, who would tell people like me that we were, what do they call it? Dooming or whatever you call it, right? Black pilled and whatever all else they wanted to call it. While we were trying to tell people for a long time, listen, when you go to the store, if you usually get a can of carrots, pick up 2. Put one in your pantry, put one in your kitchen, right? How long have I been telling y'all this stuff that this was coming? Now, did I know it was coming like this? No, but I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming. And that's why I was trying to tell you guys, you need to start prepping. So now, the problem that we have now is that our supply line is pretty screwed up. You know why? Let me tell you why. I'm going to tell you why. The reason it's pretty screwed up is because a lot of our stuff comes from China. I mean, there's hardly anything you can pick up in Walmart that doesn't say made in China, right? There's a lot of stuff that comes from China. Well, we're kind of having a spat with China. The tariffs are not helping. Listen, India can't make up its mind what side of the equation they want to be on. Whichever way the wind blows, that's what Modi's going to do. And the distribution line is screwed up now. We're still dealing with crop failures from the summer and all that, right? So there's food that was going to be on a shortage anyway. But now you've got distribution problems. You've got gas, petroleum. You listen, it's kind of like the situation isn't funny. It's just the reason I'm laughing is because it is so bizarre until it's like you can't even make this out. I mean, well, you could, I guess, if you were a fiction writer or something like that. But listen, you want to have people, you think they losing their mind now? If the government doesn't come out of this absolute ludicrous tailspin that we're in right now, don't go into the store on the first. That's all I'm going to tell you, because you do not want to be in the mix of these people losing their minds, especially if you live in a blue state or a blue city. Because let me tell you something, they could knife you to death to take something out of your cart and ain't nobody coming to help you. All right? Because what they do is they side on the side of the criminal. You see it on the news, you see it on YouTube, you see it everywhere. The blue states and the blue cities do not believe in the law of the land. They don't care if you lose your life over a package of bacon. You think they care? They don't care. More for them. The less people, the more they have. That's how they don't care about the sanctity of life. They just don't. So they're already acting the fool in the streets because they have bought into the propaganda that the fake news has been pushing and pushing and pushing about U.S. citizens being deported. So let me just give you a little lesson here on immigration. Seeing as I have been an immigrant before, and my husband was an immigrant until he became a citizen. So let me tell you, his citizenship can be revoked. If he breaks the law and does harm to this nation, he can be sent back to his native country. You understand that? So when people are saying things like they're deporting U.S. citizens, well, were they born citizens? Because you can't deport somebody to a country that they didn't come from, right? If they can be deported, how did they get their citizenship, right? They weren't born here. You understand what I'm saying? If he decides he wants to join some organization who wants to do all kinds of nefarious stuff to the country or whatever all else, and he gets caught, or anybody, right, for that matter, they can legally send you back to your country of origin. Now, I ask you, if that were the case, why wouldn't the citizens want him to leave, right? If he was causing all kinds of chaos, burning down your house, destroying your business, coming into your store, walking out with shopping carts full of food, no intention to pay, would you want him to stay so he could come back and do it again and do it again and do it again because you happen to be living in a blue, lawless, God-forsaken state who cares nothing about your personhood? Would you want him to stay and keep coming back and doing it and doing it? And what about these people who feel entitled to your stuff that have been taking over apartment buildings, literally kicking people out of their homes and taking their stuff, and the police are being told to stand down because the mayors and the governors want to grandstand and act like they're for everybody? If they're for everybody, why ain't they taking care of you? You feel me? You understand what I'm saying? This is not hard. If they care about everybody, why are they not protecting everybody? Why are they only focused on illegal people? Okay, I'll just, let you think about that for a minute. Hi, Linda. Look, Lord have mercy. I'm telling you, Hood rats and orangutans. Orangutan, you know an orangutan? I heard somebody say this for the first time. I'm like, what the heck is an orangutan? An orangutan is somebody who want to act the monkey and want to ratchet everything up, get all hyped up over something that they're dead wrong about, right? And just bring shame to the rest of us. Crazy, especially women. Make women look bad. Anyhow, so we already have the fighting and the rioting in the streets. Portland is just, Lord have mercy. Look, I went to Portland when it wasn't crazy, and I ain't like it. Okay, just the feel of that place was evil to me. Now that's just to me. I'm sorry if you live in Portland. God bless you. I ain't trying to come to Portland. I don't even want to visit you. I'll see you online. But anyhow, there are places that go crossways in my spirit. Let me just put it like that. Listen, I'm from Philadelphia originally, born and raised in Philadelphia, lived there until I was 25 years old. I have no desire or intention of going back to that ghetto of a state. Okay, no. Nope. Philadelphia has one of the world's largest open drug markets. It's called Kensington, Zombie Land. That's what they call it. Crazy, right? Blue city, blue state. All right. So I asked you guys, why is this stuff only happening in sanctuary cities? Who are they giving sanctuary to? They're not giving sanctuary to the citizens. They're giving sanctuary to now I gotta watch what I say for that, because you know me, I'll lose my mind on you. They'll cut me off like they did last time, and I was being good. They give sanctuary to criminals, and then they try to massage it and make it sound like it's for the good of mankind, right? Like they try to make it sound like they're doing this great humanitarian whatever, right? But they're not, because everything that they do is in favor of lawlessness. It's in favor of people who have no respect for our way of life, no respect for your property, no respect for your right, your constitutional right to live in peace. They have no respect for that. They don't respect. Listen, we have members of Congress and the Senate that are actively working against your well-being. Just look at how they vote. Look at what they stand for. Look at what their propaganda is about. What is their message, right? You know, I mean, come on, folks. What does it take for people to understand that we have a very corrupt government? Very, very corrupt. And it's been that way for decades, okay? This did not start under this presidency. So let me just get you straight on that. You know why I say that? Because welfare was around long before he got in the White House. So don't blame this on him, all right? You can't even blame this mess on Biden, not the whole welfare thing. You can't blame the immigration thing on him. But here's the deal. Our country was invaded. Our country was under the whip of treasonous leaders who literally flew in gang members, criminals, abusers of all sorts and all ages, who abused all sorts and all ages, flew them into our country, clothed them in name brand stuff, Nike, Coach, all kinds of stuff, put them in 5-star hotels. Why? Why would they do that? This goes beyond a global vision. Okay, it is a global vision, because if you look in Europe and in other places, they've done the same thing there. They've literally destroyed their countries, and they did it on purpose. This was not some experiment. Let's just see if we can all get along. First of all, common sense will tell you you cannot blend with every culture. Okay, you just can't. You just can't, especially if they want you dead, right? Somebody gonna lose the fight. I'm just saying, somebody gonna lose the fight. So you can't blend with every culture. Can you live peaceably with them? If they want to live peaceably with you, Yes, but if they want to take your head off, well, now we got a problem. Okay, so now we got this situation where we have people that have come from all these different countries that were probably doing a lot worse than what we're doing right now because they're so corrupt. Um, but you know what? I don't have a problem with people coming here. Like I say, my husband's an immigrant. I was an immigrant to Canada till I got out. I ain't going back. Praise the Lord. Anyway, I don't have a problem with immigrants coming into our country, right? But it just something just sticks in my craw when I see someone come into our country, burn our flag on our streets, tell us they're going to take over our country, and think nothing's supposed to happen to them. Eliminate our citizens and think nothing's supposed to happen to them. And then they want to run to these sanctuary cities where, guess what? Nothing's going to happen to them. All right. I feel sorry for you if you're living in one of these states or one of these cities where you have no legal protection. You have no, because they don't respect the Constitution. They don't respect your right to exist. Okay. They have no respect for you. They don't. Now, here's the thing. Let me get back to the food thing. What happens when people get desperate? Desperate people are dangerous people, very dangerous. Because people that are desperate will do things in those desperate circumstances that they never would have thought to do before. Just wouldn't have crossed their mind because there was no pressure to do anything, right? But now you have people who are losing their minds right now over something that hadn't even happened yet, right? Different states have been sending out text messages and what do you call them? Emails, letters, letting people know that a lot of their funding comes from the government. And if the government remains shut down because different ones in Congress who holds the purse strings have dug their heels in and said, we're going to keep the government shut down until you give us all the money that we want for these illegals, till you let all of the illegals out of prison and let them do what they want to do on our streets. We're going to keep it shut down. Do you hear me when I'm telling you they have no respect for you as a citizen? None. That's what this is all about. This is what this is all about. The president is saying, we are not giving the taxpayers' money to people that are robbing and pillaging our country, doing harm to our citizens and burning our flag. We're not giving you no more money to deal with this stuff. We're not doing the waste, fraud, and abuse anymore. We are not going to continue to extract money from the taxpayer and give someone who has no right to be here, no right. It's a privilege to be in this country if you were not born here. Okay. It's a privilege. You don't have a right. You have a maybe. That's what you have, but you don't have a right. No more than I have a right to be in Canada. I don't have a right. It's a privilege. If I was still living in Canada, well, I ain't gonna use Canada. Let me tell you how it used to be. Okay. It used to be. If I did something crazy there and just, raised all kinds of cane and caused all kinds of problems, they could deport me. They probably won't now because they're just about 80% communist in Canada now. I don't care if I don't never go back. Anyway, let me get back to desperate people do desperate things. So you have this faction in Congress and in the Senate that have dug their heels in and pretty much said, we will starve the public if you do not give us back our money. All that money that Elon Musk found with his team on Doge. Remember that? Remember the whole And see, what has happened is that you had people who were employed by all kinds of businesses and things that were shell companies. They were covers for illegal activity, for smuggling all kinds of stuff, including people, um, pharmaceuticals, weapons, all kinds of stuff. And a lot of these businesses were a front for that which was going on in the back room, if you understand what I mean. And people who did not know that applied for these jobs as a receptionist or a clerk or a whatever they were, doing, thinking that they were working for a legitimate business. Well, after all these investigations took place and they followed the money and found out that the taxpayers' dollars were going to fund, let's just say, groups who had all kinds of, boom booms to take down our city or to take down our nation or whatever. So they shut them down, right? You cut it off at the source. They can't function without money. So people who were going to work every day, making money, trying to pay their bills, trying to do the right thing, got caught up in this dragnet that has taken place, that has exposed millions of dollars of fraud and waste and abuse. And now they're out of a job. No fault of their own. They were working, right? They were doing what they were supposed to be doing, and they got caught up in this dragnet. I feel bad for those people because they did not know. They didn't know. But that business or that foundation or that entity went away because it was a farce. Okay. It was a cover for a lot of illegal activity, a lot of money laundering and stuff like that. One of the things that the founding fathers had in mind when they signed their name on the dotted line of the Constitution was limited government. Why? Because we had come out from under the whip of King George and Britain, Great Britain. And, it was a one-man show. He, by divine right, so he thought, could do whatever he wanted to do. He was a sovereign. Nobody could tell him what he could or could not do. So when we broke free of that, the idea was to have a constitutional republic, a set of democratic principles that were executed by the people, not the government, right? What has happened over time is that there's been an inversion where the government has taken more and more and more control of the lives of the citizens. And now we're facing some type of a revolt because people are sick of this mess, okay? They're sick of their homes and their businesses being burned down. They are tired of the craziness that's going on. Now you have a person in New York City who is running against Andrew Cuomo. Yeah, let that hit you. Who wants to institute Sharia law, which is not compatible with the U.S. Constitution. Okay, it is not. We are a constitutional republic. We are not an Islamic nation. And so if you live in New York, I'm just telling you, get ready to be dressed up and dressed down and can't see nothing but your eyeballs, and you better not show too much of that. So I'm just saying, if you vote for that craziness, you deserve exactly what you get. Okay. If you vote for that, if you vote against your own right to exist, well, maybe you shouldn't. I don't mean you shouldn't exist. I mean, maybe you should. Maybe you shouldn't do that. What I'm trying to say. Anyway, let me go back to my thing here. So back to the SNAP benefits. Okay. Like I said, it's a double-edged sword. Some people actually really do need it. Example is people who were working these jobs and had no idea that they were shell companies or whatever, and they've lost their employment and they can't take care of their families. They need help. They really do. They need help. And the bad thing is, for the last 4 years now, our economy has been in the toilet and gotten progressively worse. Um, when you have food banks who can't feed their neighborhoods, you have churches who can't help their parishioners because nobody's giving to the food pantry at the church, you got a problem. You have a problem. This has not been something that has never happened before. We were not alive when it did. Okay. It was 100 years ago, if you can believe that, that the Great Depression took place. 100 years. Um, and it was bad. You also had the Great Famine in Ireland many, many, many years ago, where they call it a potato famine. They like their potatoes in Ireland, you know. And people starved to death, literally starved to death. There weren't no potatoes. There was a some type of a blight went through the country and just killed off their major crops, and the people were starving to death. Okay. So famines and plagues and pestilence and stuff like this, it's all biblical and it has happened before and it will happen again. The question is, where are you sitting right now? Right? That's the question. I know you sick of hearing me say it. Just listen. Come here. Didn't I tell you? I told you. You ain't gonna stand in front of God and say nobody told me, because he heard me when I told you to get prepared for hard times. Didn't I tell you? It is biblical, people. It's not fear mongering. It's not propaganda. I mean, my goodness gracious. If you go into the grocery store and you compare what you buy now to the same item 3 years ago, last year, do you see the difference in the price? This is why I was trying to tell you, if you buy something now, buy as much of it as you can now, because next month you might be priced out of the market on that thing. Okay. I know people that have prepped all kinds of stuff. They've prepped food, they've prepped medical supplies, they've expanded their knowledge concerning medical stuff with herbal blends and all that. I know people that have prepped concerning their vehicles. If they knew how to work on their own vehicles, they bought an extra set of tires and sat them aside in their garage or whatever for whenever they needed it. Different tools that they thought they might need in the future to work on their car, if they know how to do that kind of stuff. I don't know how to do that kind of stuff. You have to think of how disrupted are you going to allow your life to be because somebody else is making decisions that you have no control over. What you can control is how much of an impact it has on you. You can control that to some extent, right? And that's the whole reason why you see so many channels on YouTube that are showing people how to prep food, how to vacuum seal, how to water bath food, how to dehydrate, and all different kinds, how to store it properly where it'll keep and all that. And you have people that have taken online courses to learn how to be certified herbalist and stuff like that, so that they can help somebody. When listen, I'm not trying to trust no medication that comes from China. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm not. They hate us. That government hates us. Okay, they want to take over our country, and they ain't doing so great. If you've seen those videos, boy, I tell you what, they have hospitals that have shut down. I mean, because they went bankrupt. They have malls. Now we do too, that have shut down because they went bankrupt. They have, let me tell you what happens. The poor farmers over there, crazy stuff is happening here too. But the poor farmers over there in China, you know what they're experiencing? They are experiencing what they call grab hags. Okay. A grab hag is someone who will come into your store or into a restaurant or into your field where you're growing food and just start taking it. Just take the same thing we have going on here in the stores and, the snatch and grab and all that. It's the same thing going on over there, but those people are starving. And so what they're doing is they're going into the fields of the farmers and just taking the food, taking the melons, taking the potatoes, just taking it. And the farmer can be standing out there yelling and hitting people saying, get off my land, get off my land. It's so many of them. They descend on these fields like locusts and they clean them out. They clean them out. And then whatever the farmer needed to pay his debt, for the seed potatoes or the rice or whatever it was they were trying to grow, they still owe that money. You know why? Because they couldn't sell their crops because they all got stolen. That's what's happening here, right? These people that are funding this are taking their model from what China is doing. China has killed off so many of their own citizens. It is unreal. I mean, it's just something. They will disappear you in a minute. Okay, they will disappear you. It is a one-man show. They will disappear you. And so, but here we are over here looking at almost a mirror of what is happening over there, except, well, we don't have a king. We don't have an emperor. We don't have, the whole no king's day thing. Well, yeah, you got that right. We don't have a king because if President Trump was a king, all those that were out there protesting and acting the fool saying we don't want a king, the fact that you could protest and say that is proof that we don't have a king. Because if we did, the king, by divine right, could hang you or cut your head off, right? So the fact that you have free speech means you are not living in a monarchy. Just that simple. So that whole thing was just stupid. Anyway, how are you sitting right now in regard to your pantry, your medical supplies, your skills, your protection? Where are you sitting? Because I've been talking to you guys on 2 channels, okay, about you better handle your business. Now, here's the deal. I know from talking to some of you that you have family members that are just, you know what, you know how they are. You can't even talk to them anymore. It's like, forget the whole thing, right? Because after you've said what you've said, there's nothing else to say, right? I, for one, at my ripe old age, refuse to give my time to a fool. Okay, I'm just not doing it. I'm not jumping at the crack of nobody's whip. I don't care how many demands they put on me and demand that I do this or demand that I say that or demand, listen, you don't know who you talking to, okay? Hey, I would tell you to ask my mother, but she ain't here. So, ask somebody that knows me. I don't do too well with people trying to trample on my liberty, okay? You'll see a very ugly side of me. Don't do that. So anyway, how are you sitting? How prepared are you? I told you guys this before when we were going through COVID. And I said, look, you need to put yourself in a position where you don't have to leave your house for a few days. In Europe during COVID, if you left your house and you were supposed to be locked down, they arrested you. Okay. I'm telling you what I know. They would arrest you. They arrested this guy who lived in a apartment building. And he was trying his best to avoid people. He had his mask on. Well, he had a dog. The dog had to go to the bathroom. He went out the back door of his apartment. Well, one of his neighbors saw him go outside with the dog to let the dog relieve himself and reported him to the police, right? They knocked on his door and said, "We got a complaint that you were outside with your dog. Is that true?" Well, yes, I had to take the dog out because he had to go to the bathroom. Well, you're supposed to be locked in. You're not supposed to be going outside, so you're going to have to go with us. And they arrested him. They arrested him because some orangutan decided to call the police. Now, I don't know what kind of harm he could have done to her when she's locked in her house. I don't know what she was scared of. You know, you got people like that. They call them Karens, right? Karens and Kevins. Okay. You got people like that who feel like they have a right to tell you where you can go, what you can say, who you can talk to, who you can't talk to. And if they don't like what you say or who you say it to, they want to try to make your life miserable. Okay. Like that woman did to that man who took his dog outside to relieve himself. What are you going to do if this government decides to institute martial law and say there's a curfew? You have to be off the street by such and such a time, whatever time, I don't know, because it's not safe for you to be outside. And you decide, well, I'm going outside anyway, right? How are you going to handle that? It's not out of the realm of possibility. Now, we do have a president who is trying to reestablish law and order in these places where the mayors and the governors don't care anything about the safety of their citizens. They side and they stand on the side of the criminal. Okay, I mean, clearly you can see that in Portland and Chicago, and you can see that. You can see that they don't care anything about the destruction, which means they're standing on the side of the criminal. Is it safe for you to go outside? If you needed to stay in your house for a couple of weeks until things calm down, can you do that? What's going to happen on November 1st? You know, come on, folks. Listen, I'm not trying to scare you. I'm trying to tell you people are nuts. Okay, they're crazy. I heard a lady, she was talking about her concern about if she has to go to the store and go shopping. She was like, what if somebody, tries to follow me back to my car and tries to, hurt me and take what I have or whatever, right? Well, that's the chance you take when you haven't prepared to be indoors for a while, right? That's the chance you take. Now, here's the thing. I understand. I'm not fussing at or being incompassionate, if that's a word, toward anyone who did not have the extra to put aside. Listen, I've been there. I have been there where there was no extra. Okay. It was like, you better make this last to the next paycheck. So I know what that's like. That was before I even knew anything about prepping. Okay. I didn't know anything about medicine or I ain't know nothing, right? I ain't know nothing. I was just a parent trying to take care of my kids, literally living from paycheck to paycheck. But by the grace of God, I always made it and I was never without by the grace of God. It wasn't because I was working overtime. There was no overtime. Okay. Not the job I was working. There was no overtime. There was no opportunity to make more money. The job consumed all of my time, and parenting consumed the rest of it. And there was no extra. There was just what I had. And I had to pray that God stretch it for me. And he did. He always did, right? My children never went without food, never went without clothes, were never without heat by the grace of God. It wasn't because I was making so much money that I was just rolling in the deep. You know what I mean? That wasn't the case. So I understand about hard times, but there's ways to deal with that. And so if you look at what you have now in your possession, um, I don't know, maybe you're raising chickens, or maybe you know where to get raw milk and you can make butter, right? Ain't hard to do. Um, you're going to have to think differently, is what I'm trying to say. You're going to have to be very creative about how you live, um, and how you want to continue to live. You need to think about protection, right? But above all, you need to pray that God bring this thing to a resolution, um, so that our country is not lost in all of the minutia and crazy stuff that's going on out there now, because people are losing their minds. A lot of people are in absolute fear of, how am I going to make it? How am I going to pay my bills? How am I going to take care of my kids? And I'm talking about legitimate concerns. I'm not talking about people who feel like, you know why I won't get a job? I'm not getting a job. You see this? I saw a lady do this, right? She had a wad of money in her hands. You see this? And she's counting her money. Why should I go to work? It's the taxpayer's responsibility to take care of me. I'm thinking to myself, who told you that? Right? Who told you that? Now, I also saw another lady who said, I have 9 children that I'm taking care of. 3 of them are disabled. She said, I'm taking care of other people's children, and I need the assistance to continue to take care of these children. Now, I don't know what her situation was. I don't know if she was a foster parent or whatever, but this is what I'm saying, that there are people who are legitimately in need of this, that are caught up in the mess. And it's really, it's a sad situation. So if you can help someone, help them. But let me give you some words of caution here. I've done this before. I've said this to you before. Winter is coming. You don't know when or if you'll be able to get to the store, if you don't have it already, to get warm clothing, to get warm blankets, or whatever. Winter is coming. You don't have to buy new, folks. You can go to thrift stores and find some very decent stuff, that people have sold or given away just because they are good human beings, right? And you can get stuff relatively cheap like that. The other day, Amazon got hacked. Yeah, you may have heard about that, or you may have experienced them in their hack, because you wouldn't have been able to get online to get anything if you shop at Amazon. I don't know. What I do know is that a lot of the people that were let into our country from the Biden administration for the purpose of overthrowing the country, because that's the only reason you would do something like that, against the taxpayers' wishes, are armed. They are trained militia people. They have a hatred for our way of life. And they have been weaponized against you to cut you off at the knees. Okay? So you really have to think differently about how you're going to live life going forward because we don't know how long it's going to take for this to turn around, right? We're in an economic war with Canada, China, Venezuela. I mean, you name it, people are mad. Now, there are some countries that are really glad that President Trump and his cabinet members are in place because they saw the lawlessness. Their country ain't down for it. And they didn't have any allies. They really didn't. But now they know they have an ally. But we got to take the trash out, folks. We have to get rid of the mess that's destroying the country. And it doesn't matter if it's a policy or if it's a person. If it is destroying our way of life in our country, it needs to go back to where it came from. Why aren't they making these same demands on their own government? Why are they not protesting in their own countries and challenging their own governments to do right by them in their own country? You know why? Because they will be if they do. That's what happens in communist countries. So then they come here and want to make our country the same crap they just left, right? Stupid. Anyway, look. And watch your money. Okay. How many times have I told you if you don't hold it, you do not own it, folks? Okay. Listen, let me just say this one thing. Well, it might be two things, but anyway, let me say this. This push that is going on now and has been going on for a while for central bank digital currency is a model and a system that China has set up in their country. In China, you have your social credit score. You absolutely can't do nothing without the government knowing about it. And if they don't like what you said or what they thought you said, they make you a non-person. This is what they're trying to push here, right? Everything that they do, they can't get on a plane. They can't leave the country. They can't go into another province. They can't shop. They can't buy nothing. They can't sell nothing. This sound familiar? Those of you guys read Bible, you know what I'm saying? They can't do anything without the government's permission. The government will make you a non-person. Britain is doing the same thing. They're doing the same thing, okay? These other countries that are going in the way of communism are doing this. Why? Well, they'll tell you it's for your safety, right? But ultimately, it's for control. If they can control the food and the medicine, they can control you. Because everybody needs food, and eventually you're going to need medicine. And if you can't get it unless you play ball, right? Then you're signing your own death warrant. And they want you to know that, right? There's things that you can do to help protect yourself against some of this stuff. One of it is stay as far out of the systems as you can. Get as free from them as you can. If you are in a situation where you have a digital ID, everybody has a digital footprint now. But if you have one of those IDs that have a tracking device in it, as does your phone, right? You can shut that off. Now, if you think that you can't turn it off, there are these things called Faraday bags, right? Where you can limit the whereabouts of your movements because it'll block the signal, right? So, I mean, you can do that, right? You can take your ID, you can put it in a Faraday wallet, you can take your phone while you're traveling, you can put it in a Faraday bag or whatever. If you have to go onto a military installation, right? I think this is nationwide. They may require you to have a certain ID. I think it's nationwide. I don't know. But you need to do your own research and think about how are you going to weather the storm that's coming upon us, right? Now, my prayer is that cooler heads would prevail and that these politicians who want to stand on the side of the criminal get some common sense and understand that they took an oath to the Constitution to preserve it, protect it, and defend it against all enemies. Now, when they become an enemy, the people have a right to replace them. If you sit back and say, well, there ain't no use, I mean, my mother used to say, there is nothing that will beat a failure except a try, right? So even if you think, well, I go out and vote, but it ain't going to do no good, go vote anyway. Do it for conscience sake, right? Don't sit back and tell your family members or your grandchildren or your great grandchildren, well, I ain't do nothing because it wasn't going to matter no way. At least you tried. Don't be a coward. At least try, right? I'm just saying. Anyhow. Hello there. I hope you're feeling okay. So get a plan, folks. It is what I'm trying to tell you. Look at your pantry again. I'm telling you, you better get it now, okay? Because when the ratchetangs and the hood rats go into Walmart, Costco, Kroger, Piggly Wiggly, whatever you call it, and start rolling out with shopping carts full of food and descending on the stores like locusts because they're afraid they're not going to be able to eat, where is that going to leave you? Okay? You better get it now before the first of the month rolls around, or you're going to be just like them. And not only that, stop talking. Stop talking. If you have been preparing all this time for I don't know how many years or weeks or months or whatever, stop talking about it. You're going to make yourself a target and you're going to get hurt. Stop talking. Stop talking. If you want to help someone, you can help them, but you don't have to let them in your home. Okay? Especially if it's not somebody that you know. And even somebody that you do know, if they get desperate enough, you don't know. You might not know that side of them. All right? If you want to help somebody, I have an idea. Here's something that you could do. Let's say somebody called you and said, do you have anything? I know how to do this. I can fix a car. Can you spare a couple of eggs? Do you have a couple of cans of meat or whatever, right? And maybe you don't want nothing from them. I mean, I suggest you do a trade, right? But if you just want to give it to them because you have been abundantly blessed and you have too much stuff anyway, I would not let them come to your house to get it. Okay. You meet them somewhere and you give it to them. But do not let a desperate person that you don't know in your home. It is too dangerous. That's not a lack of compassion because you can still help them, but you do not have to endanger yourself and your family to do so. Okay. So use some common sense. Exercise situational awareness, understand where you are, and understand the climate that we're in right now. The political climate, the economic climate, we're in a very dangerous place for a lot of people. I'm not feeling, I'm not personally feeling endangered. Who knows what will happen tomorrow, right? I don't feel like that now because I don't do dumb stuff. Okay. So I'm just saying, watch your back. Be careful. Be compassionate. Stay prayerful. Come to know Jesus if you don't. Look out for your neighbor. Yes, ma'am. Amber says she has a question. What's your question? While she's getting her question ready, take an inventory of what you have in your home. Medical, food, tools, whatever. It's never a bad time to have that stuff. Do you know back in the day, before they called it prepping, and before there was the big boom in the industrial revolution, people did this all the time. They lived like this. This is how they lived. They farmed all through the year, and then come fall, they, or spring or whatever, they canned up all their food, right, to get ready for winter. That's what they did, right? It was a way of life. But then when the industrial revolution happened, everybody started depending more on mechanized systems where they weren't doing it so much. And so there's a lot of skills that were lost along the way, that people did not learn how to preserve food because all these big manufacturers were preserving it for you. All you had to do was just go buy it, right? Same thing with medicine. So, anyway, let me see. Amber says, I know two people that are just curious. I personally would not right now. Just right now. I don't understand your question. I don't understand your question, Amber. Sorry. Let me see. If you were 30 years younger and prepared financially, would you have a child at this time? If I were 30 years younger, would I have a child at this time? Um, I think it would depend on whether I was married or not, first of all. I would not want to have a child out of wedlock, first of all. That's me. That's just my moral compass. And I didn't have children out of wedlock. Um, I don't know. And there again lies another double-edged sword. Um, and the reason I say that is because, well, you have to look at the caliber of men. When you have, now see, oh Lord, here we go. When you have men who are confused about their identity, who don't know whether they're a woman or not, yeah, slim pickings out there. That's I don't know. I don't know. Just looking at society as a whole right now, I don't know that I would have children because who would I have them with? I don't know. If you're looking at it just from an economic standpoint, it would depend on my financial situation. If I was 30 years younger right now, I could have another child, but I wouldn't. Um, I wouldn't because I think that society as it is right now is very dangerous. And with the knowledge that I'm not going to live forever, right? Not in this flesh suit. I mean, I'm going to live forever somewhere, but it won't be in this. Um, I would be thinking about what kind of world um, would my child grow up in. It's a tough thing. It really is. It wouldn't be a lack of desire on my part. It might be a matter of principle. Would I have a child now in the political environment? And if people think that the political environment does not shape the society, you're wrong. I'm telling you. What we're going through right now economically is all because of the political environment that we're in, right? It was policies that screwed over the farmers. Okay. It was policies that allowed our country to be taken advantage of by other countries for decades. Policies did that. Politics, that's what did that. I don't know that I would. Could I? Yes. Would I? I don't know. I don't. I don't. I'm going to lean on the side of no. I would not. Now, it also depends on the person's, how they feel about it. They may feel like I'm going to have a baby and I'm going to train that child up to change the world, whatever their vision is. I don't know. But for me, I don't think I would. I don't think I would. No, I probably would not. I probably would not. But thank you for the question. That's very interesting. Um, anyway, you guys, I don't want to keep you too long. I said that last time and I ended up keeping you like forever. So, but this was a very spontaneous video since I just did one a couple of weeks ago. But I just want you to be careful, okay? I don't want you to be scared. I'm not telling you this, trying to fear monger, but it is what it is out there. It is what it is. And people do what people do. That's the only thing Nancy Pelosi ever said that I agreed with. People do what people do, okay? They do what they do. And when they get scared enough and desperate enough, they will do anything to protect themselves. You have to be aware of that, right? Um, you have to have your head on a swivel. Like I said, you don't have to be scared. Just be aware. Be aware of where you are and who's around you all the time. When I go to the store with my husband, which I do not go in the store because I hate shopping, I hate shopping. Okay, he does the shopping. He goes in the store with his phone and he turns his camera on. And, we're going down the aisle together. I'm sitting in the car. But when he gets out of the car, you know what he always says to me? Lock your door. So I lock the doors, right? I do lock the doors. And I'm also looking around. I'm looking around to see who's coming near my car. Who's coming in? Are they looking at me? Do they look like they about to bust a move? Because I wouldn't advise it. I'm just saying, I wouldn't advise it. But I'm looking anyway, even though I'm in my car with my doors locked. Crime happens in red states and red cities as well. It's just not legalized, you might say. Here, it's not legalized. There's a penalty to pay for acting a fool in a red state or a red city. Anyway, they are trying to push us toward a civil war. Don't get caught up in it. That's all I'm saying. Watch yourself, protect your family. Do an inventory of your cabinet, see what you need. If you need to order it by Amazon or have it delivered to your house, do that. But get what you need, because if they don't get this worked out, I'm praying that they do. But if they don't get this worked out before the first of the month, you're gonna see some real jungle fever out there. Okay, so I'm telling you, the orangutans is gonna be acting the fool, and the hood rats. All right, who think they're entitled to your stuff. So anyhow, I'm just saying. Anyway, you guys, thank you for hanging out with me this evening. I don't usually come on a Saturday. This is like really, really rare. I try to do it like on a Tuesday or something. But anyway, thanks for hanging out with me. I appreciate that. I appreciate you being here. You could be anywhere else, but you're hanging out with me. Ain't that something? I appreciate that. I do. You guys be careful. Take care. Um, if you need to take a step back and get your breath and think, okay, or sit down, talk with your family. All right. You know, if we need to get out of here in a hurry because somebody's trying to bust through our front door, bust out our windows or whatever, you know, you can either stay and take care of business or you can have an exit strategy. All right. Just have both. That's all I'm saying. Have both in case you need both. Anyhow, thank you, Carol. And I appreciate you guys too. I really do. Thank you so much for coming on. Be careful. I'll see you the next time I come on, right? And just, do an inventory, see what you have, see what you need, go ahead and get it while you can, and let's just wait this thing out. Pray, watch, and pray. Watch and pray. Watch and pray. That's what the scripture tells us to do, right? All right. I love you guys. I'll see you next time I come on. Take care.